Good Thursday evening, everybody. Let me know when you can see me and when you can hear me. I'll look for a 5x5 in the chat. And I'll wait for see Mr. Mod there. Hope everyone's having a great week so far. It's Thursday, guys. Let's see here. Do we have anyone in chat yet? Not yet. I know there's a lot going on tonight. It's been a lot going on this week. I'll wait for Mr. Mod to give me 5x5. Excellent. Thank you so much. Give it just a couple minutes here and see if notifications go out. Maybe a few folks will hop in. If you're listening in replay, tonight we are talking about prepping and food allergies. This is something that folks have asked for. And sorry, I'm adjusting my headset here if you hear a little noise. This is something folks have asked about doing this kind of a show for a few weeks now, and I was going to do it last week and then switched it up and did the first aid instead. I felt that was maybe a little bit more important, but now with food shortages and a lot of concern of getting prepped up, I wanted to go ahead and let's cover the food allergies. Wow, a 12 to 13 second delay. Wow, that's crazy, mister. Okay. Well, it is what it is. Actually, you know what? Let me try something and see if I can make that a shorter delay. Like now, if it's gotten any shorter. For anyone who doesn't know, as always, if you are brand new to my streams, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm talking to Mr. My mod here is also my husband. I can just call him Mr. And like I said, tonight we're going to be doing prepping and food allergies. And a lot of folks seem to have allergies or maybe are interested in prepping for someone who may potentially come and stay with them who has food allergies. 6 seconds. Okay. All right. I had a feeling. Well, that's good. It's a shorter delay now. All right. So I am going to give it just a second here, give another minute or two, and I'm going to go ahead and get started because there's a lot that can be covered. I'm going to try and keep it pretty basic. I'm not going to get super deep into it, because you can just really go down a rabbit hole. If you have allergies, then more than likely you're already aware of a lot of the science and what you're allergic to and what to avoid, what kind of reaction you have, or what you're sensitive to. If you're trying to get ready for someone that you know of, a friend or family member who's going to possibly come to stay with you, and you want to make sure you have something for them on hand, but you're not really sure what they may need or what they can't have, hopefully this will maybe shed a little light on it. Probably the absolute best advice I can give, and it's super basic, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you, talk to the person. If you're prepping for someone else, just talk to them and ask them, hey, what are you allergic to? Can you eat this? Can you eat that? And if you feel like, they're going to kind of shun you a little bit or mock you or be, act some kind of way towards you because maybe they're not quite of the same mindset of preparedness that you are, then just tell them, hey, look, I know you're not into it, but humor me. Just let me know what can you have? What can't you have? You'd be surprised. A lot of times people will say, okay, sure. If you just frame it like that and say, hey, humor me, just, I want to have something on hand for you. Or how bad are your allergies? Or, people will tell you. I think they will. Hey, Stuart, how are you? Welcome. Yeah, I think it looks like it's going to be a small stream tonight. I'm about to just go ahead and let's get started. And if it is, then it is. And, folks can listen to replay. I know there's a lot going on tonight. I know Angry's on live. I saw some other folks went live also. So, it may be just us chickens this evening. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started here because let's see, it's about 5 minutes. Welcome to my mods. Very few folks on any lives. Oh, really? Because I saw Angry was going on and at the same time, and someone else, a couple of new streams that I found, a couple of new channels. I found several, well, new to me channels. They're pretty large, actually. The preparedness community is a lot bigger than we realize. It's a huge neighborhood, and we're just one street in it. Okay, so prepping and food allergies. I'm going to start with the absolute basics. What is an allergy? So an allergy, and this is, we kind of tend to interchange allergy and sensitivity or intolerance, and they're not really interchangeable. They're different. And an actual allergy is something that causes your immune system to kind of overreact. Your immune system sees whatever that you've eaten or ingested or inhaled or touched as a threat, and it goes overboard to try and fight it. And in the process, it hurts you. It's an abnormal response. And like I said, you can have a reaction, an allergic reaction to eating something, ingesting it, touching it, smelling it. You can have a really severe reaction that will, it can be anything from getting hives, which is different than having a little bit of a rash. Hives are big, giant, your body, you wheel, it's called a wheal, W-H-E-A-L. Look them up, you'll see. If you've ever had an allergic reaction with hives, you know what they are. But you can get anything from hives up to and including going into anaphylactic shock, which is where your throat swells, you have difficulty breathing, you're extremely dizzy or lightheaded along with that. It's basically, if you don't get medical attention immediately or very, very quickly, you run the risk of dying. It's a severe, severe reaction where death can be imminent. I don't want to sugarcoat it a whole lot. It's really serious. A sensitivity or intolerance, we do use those interchangeably. It's a hypersensitivity, but it's not life-threatening. A true allergic reaction is life-threatening. So sensitivity or intolerance, not life-threatening. You may be pretty uncomfortable or get a little sick from it, but it's not going to kill you. But that being said, I have some sensitivities to a few things where, no, it didn't kill me, but I was sure miserable. Something else I want to throw out too is being allergic to a food may also kind of result in being allergic to a similar protein that is found in another food, and that's called cross-reactivity. And I'm not going to get like super deep in all this, but I just kind of want to put that out there and put that in your mind because I'm going to talk about a few things. And basically what cross-reactivity is basically think of it as, foods that are kind of related. So maybe if you're allergic to, or you have an allergic reaction, or you have a sensitivity to apples, then you're probably likely to have a sensitivity to pear. And the reason for that, and I'm using a real example, that's one that I have. And the reason for it is because they're in the birch family, and they have those little seeds in the middle. When you eat and you get down to the core and it has those little bitty brown seeds, that's in the birch family. So I have a sensitivity to apple. And shortly afterwards, I found I was also sensitive to pear. And the allergist told me, yes, it's part of the birch family. That's why. Classic symptoms, blah, 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 blah. So there you go. But it's that kind of a thing. So there's always the chance if you are, these different kinds of foods are related. Hey, Stanley and Donna, how are you? Welcome. Sorry, I have another screen open, so I'm going to try and look back and forth into the chat periodically. Welcome. So there are some foods and different things that are kind of related in that way. So if you know this already for yourself, great. It's something to keep in mind if you are prepping for somebody else. They may or may not be aware of it, and they may not necessarily be allergic or sensitive to other things, but it's something to keep in mind. Okay, so away we go. I'm actually going to be dropping links every once in a while in the chat, and I'm also going to be at the end of the stream, I'll go in and add timestamps so that you can skip to different sections of the big 8 that we talk about. And the big 8 are the 8 major allergens that we know about and that the FDA is requires manufacturers to put on the label. They don't have to list anything other than these 8. Some will, depending on what it is, but they don't have to. Hey, goodbye, Blue Sky. Welcome. All right, let's see here. I'm going to start with this first link right here. Oops. Let me get my pages sorted out. And let's see here. We're going to start with the big 8. And I put them not really in any particular order. I kind of did, but nothing like alphabetical or anything like that. But I thought we would start with, it actually turned out this is the #1 allergen out there, and we probably already know about it, peanuts. Peanuts are the #1 allergen that we know of. More people have allergy to peanuts than anything else. And let's see here, I'm going to drop a link to just general, and what the links I'm going to be dropping in the chat are just general information, and it's going to be to things like Mayo Clinic, American College of Asthma and Allergy Institute, things like that, these official type. And I just saw one of my links didn't save on my document, but that's okay. These official medical places, so hopefully that will help with the platform and not smack me for any kind of medical misinformation or anything, because I'm not giving medical misinformation. And this is a good place for me to give the disclaimer that obviously I am not a doctor, I am not a healthcare professional, I am not playing one on TV or the internet. I'm somebody on the interwebs just like you, and I have allergies. And we're just going to go over basic info here, and I will drop all the links in here. All right, let's see. So peanuts. The link I've got is for Mayo Clinic. Hey, Bug Dude, how are you? Welcome. Oops, wrong window. Here we go. Oh, I'm dropping it in the wrong window. Darn. Well, that'll work. All right, there we go. So peanuts. We all know about peanuts, and you know, a lot of these may seem pretty basic. I'm going to keep saying throughout, read labels, and obviously don't eat things that are, for example, peanuts. Peanuts are not actually a nut, technically. If anyone didn't know that, they're not considered to be a quote, real nut. They are a legume, a bean. Technically, they are a bean. But supposedly, if you have an allergic reaction to peanuts, there's a chance that you could have reaction to beans. Now, I am someone who is severely allergic to peanuts. I personally am fine with beans. I personally have never had any issues with any kind of bean. So, you know, take it all with a little bit of grain of salt. Anything is possible. You can be allergic to all kinds of anything, or only to this one in particular, you know, one thing at a time. You don't have to be allergic to anything that's related to it, like, you know, the beans being related to nuts. I'm not. A lot of people are not, but some people may be. Be aware that a lot of things are also contain or have been cooked in peanut oil. You want to watch out for stuff like that. And the first thing that comes to mind with the peanut oil, and you may not realize it, or you may be thinking of this already, maybe, there are kettle cooked chips. That's those super crispy, crunchy chips. Now, a lot of brands have switched over to like safflower oil or canola oil, but read the back of the package. Zapp's chips, I know for a fact, they cook theirs in peanut oil, and it says it on the back. And it also will have the allergy warning on there, contains peanuts. Obviously, don't eat those. Don't feed it to somebody who has a peanut allergy. Peanut allergies are pretty severe. Let me back up. Any allergy can be severe. Any allergy can be life-threatening. Even if it has not been in the past, you always run the risk of, the more you expose yourself to it, from what I've been told by my allergists, every time you expose yourself to it, you run the risk of it being a more severe reaction. So don't think that you can desensitize yourself from it. Talk with your doctor if you're interested in something like that. There is a desensitization treatment available for peanuts. And actually, in January of last year, of 2020, the FDA did approve the first ever treatment medication for people with peanut allergies. I learned that today. Something I personally am not interested in, but it's something that started last year and it's available now. So if that's something you're interested in, you may want to look into that. Hi, Diane. How are you? Welcome. Are you nuts, legumes, or bum? Yeah. Oh my gosh, y'all are terrible. This is what's going on in the chat. I come back over to see what's happening, and it's jokes. Oh, behave-ish. Sure you will. Sure you will. Okay, so peanut allergies. They can be really severe. And I think most people know that already. What you may not realize is that if you have pets or if you have livestock, peanuts are used in a lot of pet food, and it's definitely used in a lot of livestock food as well. I know for sure that it's used in chicken feed because we have chickens, and when we were looking at getting what type of feed we wanted to get from whichever store, whether it was a feed store or Tractor Supply or whatever, it didn't occur to me to really read the ingredients on the back of the feed. I think a bag happened to be flipped over when we got there, and I just happened to see it on the back, and it had ground up peanuts in it, which, is probably great for the animals, but not for me if I'm having to go and scoop out food and all that dust and everything is around, that I could inhale and then have a reaction to. And the thing with peanuts and with anything, it's going to depend on, everyone's going to be a little different on how severe their reaction is going to be. Some people are not affected by smelling or inhaling or, whatever the allergen is, or by touching. There are some people who are extremely sensitive, particularly with peanuts and tree nuts, which I'll get to in a moment. They can't touch it. They can't smell it. I have trouble smelling tree nuts, like roasting, like at the holidays. If you ever go somewhere where they're like roasting pecans or something like that with those cinnamon sugar pecans, I can't breathe. I start having trouble breathing. But as soon as I can get away from it and kind of get some clean air, I'm okay. But it's almost like, for me, it's almost like an asthmatic kind of a reaction to it. And some people may have that sort of reaction. So just be aware. But yeah, so be aware that there can be peanuts in pet food. There can be peanuts in your livestock's food. Definitely in chicken feed. Watch out for that. I know that for a fact because we have chickens, like I said. And you may find it in other livestock food as well. So if that's something that you or someone near you or that you are planning for has a tough time with, or they are going to have a reaction to, you may want to make some adjustments there. As far as touching, be aware if someone is so severely allergic that they can't even touch anything, that's pretty bad. I've only known one person in my life who was that bad, and it was actually a child, and I think he eventually grew out of it. I didn't keep up with it. It was extended family, but like really extended. But it was a young family member. He was very young, and I remember his grandmother, he stayed with his grandmother one day, and she had a peanut butter sandwich, which my thought process is, why would you even have that in your house if your grandchild's there who is severely, severely allergic? But she did. She had a peanut butter sandwich. She thought it was okay as long as she washed her hands. She didn't wash her hands well enough, and there was still a very slight residue on her hands when she went to touch him, and he blew up pretty quickly, almost immediately, and had to be rushed to the hospital. There are some people that are that severely allergic. Now, if that's the case, you'll already know about them. You'll know all about everything, what they can and can't have, what kind of treatments they need, all that stuff. But just to kind of put it in your brain, there are people who are that severely allergic out there, and I really feel terrible for them. Hey, Northern Girl, welcome. Can't stay but leaving you on for watch time. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, Sister Marie. Hello. How are you? Don and Stanley say, peanuts and rice doesn't sound as tasty as pintos and rice. I would agree, and actually I'm not a big fan of pintos, but I would much rather, considering I'm allergic to peanuts, I'd much rather have the pintos and rice instead. Chat's chilling. My message is important. Okay, that's awesome. I'm good with folks listening. Let's see here. Oh, Sister Marie, you have a doll for me? Sure, you can email it. My email is luckydame@protonmail.com. And it's also on the About tab on the channel. Yeah, Stuart, EpiPens for sure. If EpiPens or auto-injectors, it doesn't even have to be the name brand EpiPen, because that is a name brand. Whatever auto-injector, if you're able to have that, if you have allergies, because the only way you can get it is if you yourself have allergies and you're prescribed an EpiPen. It's nothing that you can get over the counter. You can't talk a doctor into giving it to you, because if you use an Epi when it is not needed, from what I've been told, again, by doctors, there is a risk of sending someone into cardiac arrest if it's not needed. So it's pretty serious. You don't just, you can't just go and inject somebody with that. Let's see here. Hey, JH556, how are you? Welcome. Maccabeus, welcome. Okay, I'm gonna hop back over here to my notes, guys. I'll check back on the screen here in just a second. So that's for peanuts. And peanuts I feel like are it's the first one on the list. It's the most well-known allergy out there. It's the most common. I feel like in this day and age, people are much, much more aware of peanut allergies than they were even 20 years ago, and certainly more than 30 or 40 years ago for sure. So the next one I'm going to go to is actually the second most common allergy, and it kind of goes with peanuts, and that is tree nuts. And this is where things get a little bit funny with tree nuts. I actually learned this about tree nuts today. I don't want to get too deep into, like, we know technically a peanut is a legume. The FDA calls it a nut. There are some tree nuts that, like the coconut, technically it's a fruit. It's not a nut, but the FDA categorizes it as a tree nut, which is a little weird, but it's not a tree nut, and you're not as likely to have, you can be allergic to coconut, but not because it's a quote unquote nut, just because you're allergic to coconut. It's not related, but it's kind of lumped. The FDA lumps it in with Brazil nuts, cashews, chestnuts, hazelnuts, all these other nuts. So, and even within all of those, there's this division. You were getting all sciencey on what botanically is this and what technically is that. We're just going to call them all tree nuts and be done with it because it gets confusing. So you can actually be allergic to peanuts and not be allergic to tree nuts, and vice versa. It's more common to be, or it's not uncommon to be allergic to both. I am allergic to both. There are a lot of people out there who are allergic to only peanuts or only tree nuts. And in the tree nuts, they may be allergic to only one kind. It's more common to remember that cross reactivity, cross reactivity, where if you're allergic to this one kind of thing, then you may be allergic to the others if that have the same protein, because that's when you have a reaction, that's what you're having a reaction to, is the protein in that food item. So I have known people who were allergic to maybe only almonds, but they could have cashews, hazelnut, pecans, everything else, just not almonds. And it was strange that I was actually really jealous. But so it's possible to be allergic to just one and not the others. Let's see here. But if you are allergic to nuts, it's likely going to be several different ones. So, so example, cashews and pistachios are often associated together. If you are having a reaction to one, then you are probably likely to have a reaction to the other, according to what I've read. Because again, I'm not a physician. I'm going by everything I've gotten off different sites here. And actually, tree nuts, I had a link to info on them, and it doesn't look like it's saved on here, and I'm sorry. But it was probably more than likely a link either to Mayo Clinic or to the Asthma and Allergy, College of Asthma and Allergy that I shared earlier. It was one of those two sites, but this is where I'm getting the majority of my info from. Let's see here. So let's see here. Almonds you're going to find are used in a lot of things like toffee. Nuts are frequently used in a lot of sweets. Hazelnut spreads, of course. People love Nutella, right? That spread that we see in the store that's like a chocolate and hazelnut spread. You see nuts in a lot of things like breakfast cereals. You can find walnut oil, like for cooking, and hazelnut. Pine nuts are also included in this. Pine nuts are used a lot of times in salads, and they're also found in pesto, which a lot of people don't realize. So if you have a tree nut allergy, or someone you're trying to prep for who has a tree nut allergy, and they may not even be aware of it, pine nuts are usually in pesto. And again, I'm going to keep reiterating as we go throughout. Read the labeling, read the ingredients on everything. Even if you think you know what's in it, you will be really surprised. I've been caught off guard many times and thought, whoa, I didn't know this was in here. And maybe their secret ingredient. You have no idea. And you'll think, why the heck is this in this, condiment or in this dish or this can of whatever? There are strange things in there sometimes. So always read the ingredients, and that's a huge part of it, really, with allergies. Just read the ingredients and you'll find all kinds of stuff. Now, a lot of the links in here that I'm going to be dropping, they may give examples of alternate names of things, or that maybe ingredients will be listed a little bit differently or under a different type of name. They may give more examples. This is not all-inclusive what I'm doing. There's no way I can make it all-inclusive, and even the sites I'm giving you can't be all-inclusive, but they can give you a lot more information for sure on all of this, and more ideas and examples of what kinds of foods or condiments or dishes you may find some of these allergens in. Let's see, let me pop back over in the chat a little bit. Hey, Leslie, how are you? Welcome. Klingon Princess, welcome. Am I meeting the queen tonight? I grabbed that one last minute. I was like, this one. And I was like, I don't know, it's a little fancy for a Thursday night, but why not? I like the little brooch she's got on. I like hats, but I don't wear hats really. Let's see here. Let's see if I've met anyone. Yes, an EpiPen, it's epinephrine. So yes, it's going to, don't use it if you don't actually starting to have anaphylactic shock. And we're not going to get into the, I agree, Stuart. Oh my gosh. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. I used to love Almond Joys. And so that's great. The funny thing, interesting fun fact, guys, you don't have to start off with allergies as a child. I did not have allergies as a child. I grew into them as an adult. I'm currently 47 years old, at the current time of this stream, which is August 12th, 2021. And I did not develop these severe allergies until I was 26. Isn't that crazy? So I've actually had most of the things we're talking about tonight. I've had pretty much all of it up until that age. And then I developed adult onset allergies, which is, it happens. It can happen. It's pretty wild. It's a thing. It's a very real thing. And it's not a really uncommon thing. It's a real pain in the butt, I can tell you that. But after 20 years, I've pretty much gotten used to everything. So, oh, thanks, Leslie. Fancy pants. Well, she has a skirt on, but yeah, fancy pants. Okay, I'm going to hop back over here because, like I said, we got the top 8, and then I'm going to talk about some that aren't. Oh, I didn't like Mounds. It was too sweet. I needed that almond in there to cut all that sweetness from the coconut. Oh, that's just me. Okay, I'm going to hop back over here, pull my notes back up, because I want to get through the 8, and then I want to talk about the ones that aren't some of the, I'm going to call them more common, but the more known ones, I guess, that aren't necessarily, or ones that I know of, that aren't covered under the big 8. Because there's a lot, you really can be allergic to pretty much anything. You really can. And just because it seems like something that's odd that you've never heard of, or it's not one of these top 8, it doesn't mean that somebody's, pulling your leg or that they're making something up. They may really, I've had such unusual allergies. I mean, I can't have tomato. And for years, nobody believed me. They thought, I would be told to my face, oh, you just don't like it. No, I really can't eat it. I will be very, very sick. So just because it sounds like something strange or unusual that you've never heard of, it doesn't mean that it's not a real thing. I just want to throw that out there. Okay, so we talked about our tree nuts. And tree nuts can include, and this is not an exhaustive list or an all-inclusive list, but that FDA here in the US considers that to be almonds, Brazil nuts, cashews, chestnut, hazelnut, macadamia nut, pecan, pine nut, pistachio, walnuts, and coconut, even though, like I said, coconut is technically, it's a fruit. It's not a nut. The FDA categorizes it as a tree nut, even though you can be allergic to all those tree nuts I just said and not allergic to coconut. So it gets a little confusing in there. So let's see here. Oh, and I also found there's a kind of nut called a Queensland nut. I'd never heard of that before, but I don't think we have those here. Probably they're just in Queensland. So let's see. All right, I'm going to move on from tree nuts. Fish. So this is one I don't know if people know about fish, and I'm talking about finned fish, fish you catch like when you go fishing. I actually have this one as well. In fact, yeah, out of the top 8, there's only one, no, there are 2 that I do not have an allergy to. And we'll get to that. And it's just me. I have loads of food allergies. So finned fish. Let me drop a link here. And something I want to talk about too as we go throughout this. For some things, as you're reading different links, hey, Native and Devout. So here's the link I'm going to drop in there just for general information on fish allergies, okay? And throughout all of this, and this is true for pretty much any allergen that I'm aware of that I've been told about, some allergens, some foods, if you cook it, it will diminish or lessen the allergic effect. It changes the protein when you cook it, okay? If we're going to get all sciencey here, right? So when you cook something, the heat changes it, and it may diminish the severity of the allergic reaction. It may not. It's still very risky. I would say talk with your doctor. Don't risk eating something thinking, oh, it's fine, I cooked it, I won't have a reaction, because that's not true. And that is true with that's correct with fish. Cooking it doesn't change anything. So if you're allergic to it, you're going to stay allergic to it. So if you eat it as sushi and then you think, oh, I'm going to go to a fish fry next week, I can't have it as sushi, but I'm going to eat this piece of cod over here and it'll be fine. No, you're still going to have a reaction. And I just wanted to throw that out there, that you may hear that as something that you may hear saying, oh, if you cook it sometimes, but sometimes not. It's talk with your doctor. I wouldn't lay money on it. I wouldn't risk it, really. Allergies are nothing that you want to mess around with. I mean, truly, you don't. That's someone's life, And if you're the one with the allergy, please don't mess around with it. It's so serious. Okay, so going on about fish. So what I've learned about fish is if you're allergic to one species, it's very likely it's going to be all species, and possibly also allergic to frogs, which is fine because I don't ever want to eat frogs, but I know a lot of people like to eat frog legs. And that was something I learned. I did not know, but I guess since I don't eat frog legs, my allergist never really brought it up. So just be aware of that. If you're allergic to fish, finned fish, right? And when I say finned fish, because I'm going to talk about shellfish in a minute, okay? So fish that you get out of that live in water, right? You pull them out, and you go fishing, and you can't eat it. You're probably also going to be allergic to frogs. So no frog legs for you, right? So so fish are interesting in that peanuts and tree nuts, right? You probably get a pretty good idea of where you're going to see those kinds of things in foods. Like I said, keep reading the label on things anyway. You'll be surprised at what you'll find. I've seen macadamia nut listed in some unusual places that I wasn't expecting. Same for walnut. Walnut oil will be included in things. So always read your labels. Fish, though, is incorporated in a lot of prepared foods that you don't realize. It can be used, obviously, anchovies. Anchovies is a little hairy fish. A lot of people like them. No, thank you. You can see those on pizza, right, as pizza toppings, but it's also, you can have fish soup. Sometimes fish will be used in soup as a base, as a broth. In salad dressings, Caesar salad. Did you know there's anchovies in Caesar salad? Or Caesar salad dressing, excuse me. There's anchovies in it. Fish sauce, duh, that pretty much speaks for itself, right? Which is used in a lot of Asian cooking. Seafood snacks. If you ever see that at the store, something called seafood snacks, it doesn't mean that it's actual seafood, but it may have a bit of seafood in it, right? It's usually what I've seen as seafood snacks are seaweed, right, and different things. Fish paste, obviously. And then there's 2 things called, and I'm probably going to not say these names correctly, kamaboko, Kamaboko, and surimi, Surimi. And what I found is surimi is found in imitation crab, shrimp, or scallop, and it's also used in meatless hot dogs, hybrid ham, and bologna, sausages, and pepperoni sticks, which I don't eat any of those things, so but I probably would have found out. So, yeah, be aware of that. Some fish products can be found in some vitamins too. So if you are getting your vitamins and supplements, just check and see if it's, check the label on it. They'll list on there. Because it's one of the big 8 allergens, they have to list on the packaging, they have to put a warning label on there if it contains any of the big 8, and fish is one of them. So if you have an allergy to fish, it doesn't automatically mean that you're going to be allergic to shellfish as well. I also read something, and I haven't been able to confirm this. I found on a site that was talking about allergens, and they're actually outside the US. I believe it was Australia, and I haven't been able to pull them back up. They said, and this could be just in their country, that fish gelatin is applied in pharmaceutical products like jabs, but it's not considered to be a risk to people who are allergic to fish. And it's a similar kind of thing when we get to eggs. We'll be talking about different kinds of jabs that use eggs. So let's see, let me hop back over here. Oh, anchovies. Ugh, dude. I got an anchovy in my mouth one time and I was like, holy crap, what is this? Hairy little fish. Yes, and they are salty, aren't they, Bug? They're super, it's like just a little block of salt, hairy salt. Not at all appealing. Let's see, what about shellfish should I worry about? Any types of regular fish? Okay, we're going to talk about shellfish here in just a second. I'm just trying to kind of get them in order. So that was finned fish. If you are allergic to finned fish, you're not necessarily allergic to shellfish, and vice versa. Let's see here. I'm trying to kind of peek in the chat in between each one of these as we go down. They're really messing with our food. Yeah. Yeah, they can. Smoked and canned fish can last a long time. Now, while I personally can't eat fin fish, the reaction I have to fish, I'm fine if Mister eats it. Okay, so it's a different story. So, for example, if he were to eat peanuts or tree nuts, no way. He can't come near me. No. That would be no bueno for me. Something like fish, now, that doesn't bother me. It's only if I actually ingest it. So if he wants to eat fish, I mean, he's, still going to keep his distance for a little bit just to be safe. But for me, that's my reaction. Everyone is going to be a little bit different. So just keep that in mind. But with fish, keep in mind that it could be used byproducts in all kinds of prepared items, right? So make sure you read those. Hey, roaming prepper, make sure you read the labels. And I'm going to keep saying that throughout. Y'all are going to get tired of hearing me say that. Read the labels, read the ingredients, read the ingredients. They should list on there. They're supposed to list on there if it includes any of these big 8, okay? Let's see here. I got everybody, I think so. Yeah, I won't be eating frog legs either. I never had any desire to eat frog legs. Well, Maccabeus, I'm glad someone does like frog legs. I had no idea, but like I said, I don't eat them. I never talked about eating them. So I guess, my allergist never brought it up. That's true. I would say that's true to a certain extent. I mean, that's the word itself, supplement. It supplements what you're eating. Yeah, if you have a balanced diet, I would agree with that. Then you don't necessarily need supplements. I think that can be a little bit of a boost, just a little something extra. Okay, I'm going to pull my notes back up here. All right, so that's for our fish. All right, shellfish. This one is funky, just a little bit. Let me get my link here. So shellfish, when I was diagnosed 20 some odd years ago, everything fell under anything that came out of the ocean that was not a finned fish, that had a shell. They lumped it under shellfish. Now they actually make 2 different distinctions. There's shellfish and then there's mollusk. And apparently now you can be allergic to shellfish and not allergic to mollusk and vice versa. But again, they're pretty closely related, so you're likely to be allergic to both, but not necessarily, just to keep it confusing. Okay, so shellfish is another one. You've really got to watch your labels on that because a lot of things can be added ingredients in a lot of prepared foods. Now, shellfish is, a lot of people think it's an allergy to iodine. It's not. The allergy with shellfish is actually to the protein, and I wrote it down, tropomyosin, tropomyosin, and I probably said it wrong, but that's the protein in shellfish that you're actually having a reaction to, not iodine. So if you ever go for any kind of imaging where they've got to give you contrast, they'll ask you, do you have any allergies? And they'll usually ask even, do you have a shellfish allergy? Because in shellfish, iodine is present, but it's usually not, that's not what you're generally having the reaction to. It's the protein in the animal itself, not the iodine. An iodine allergy is something completely different, and from what I've been told and understand, it's not very common, and iodine is present in a lot of other foods that we eat anyway, so if you were allergic to it, you would have known probably before even eating shellfish. Okay, so this is going to get kind of, I've got something gross here, so brace yourselves, folks. All right, so shellfish includes mussels, clams, scallops, oysters, conch, edible land snails, and let's see here. Yeah, an edible land snails. So anyone who likes escargot? There you go. Let's see here. And it can cause you, if you're allergic to, being allergic to the tropomyosin, that protein in shellfish, can cause you, doesn't mean it will, but it can cause you to be allergic to other invertebrate species, let's see here, that you would not eat, non-dietary invertebrates, such as household dust mites and cockroaches. Oh, I can't even say the word. I hate those things. Disgusting. Okay. So we want to look in the chat and see what everyone's saying to that. So as far as mollusks, okay, mollusks, oh, excuse me, let's see here. Or did I write those? Oh, I'm sorry, those were mollusks. The mussels, clams, scallops, oysters, conch, and edible land snails, those are mollusks. Shellfish or crustaceans, they've separated those out to be shrimp, prawn, crab, crayfish or crawfish, depending on how you say it wherever you live, and lobster. Okay. I'm old school. I just lump it all together as anything for me, because I'm not touching any of that, because I know what happens. Anything in the shell that comes out of water is not going in my mouth, or neither any of those other things I talked about either. But also in mollusks, guess what, guys? Octopus and squid are considered swimming mollusks. So you are likely, if you are allergic to mollusks, the scallops, oysters, clams, snails, then you were likely to also be allergic to squid and octopus. Who knew, right? So yeah, so be aware. I'm afraid to even look back over in the chat and see what's, oh my gosh. And the first one I see is Klingon Princess. I just want to puke. I hate to even bring that one up, but yeah. Oh. Yeah, well, see, that's the thing, Dr. Herbalist. Yeah, that's a good point to make for a lot of folks, for maybe just your personal feelings, or if you have specific dietary laws that you're following. Your dietary laws may not allow you, and when I say dietary laws, I'm talking about religious laws. If you're Jewish, if you're Islamic, or Muslim, excuse me, then you may be prohibited by your religious laws from eating shellfish or pork and other animals. So, you know, this part here, you just kick back and have a drink or have a snack, and we'll get on to the rest of this in just a second. For anyone else who does eat these things, or, you know, if you're prepping for someone who would be around or exposed to any of that, there you go. Let's see here. Let me scroll up. Erythromycin. Yes, that is a drug. I have to go up here and see what we're talking about. She's kind of allergic to shrimp, but can chow down on crawfish. Yeah. Yeah, and see, that's the thing. It's so, everyone is so individualized. I told Mister, I said, it's so hard to do this, because it's like, here's everything that's included in, you know, like, here are all the things you can be allergic to in this category. But you're not necessarily allergic to everything. Some people will be, and some people won't be. It's, you know, if you're prepping for yourself, obviously you're going to know your own allergies, or you should, because we all know how you find out is you usually find out the hard way, and you don't want that to happen if there's a bad situation going on, right? That's generally not when you want to find anything out. Um, and you don't want anything like that to happen if you are expecting company, right? And you're trying to have things ready for them. So I said at the start of the program, start of the stream, if you are expecting for others to come to you and they may have some kind of sensitivity or intolerance or a full-on allergy, just ask them. Ask them now and say, hey, I know, if they're not really on board with the prepping thing, or they're kind of on the fence about it, or if they know that you're prepping for them, just tell them, hey, humor me. Just tell me, could you eat this? Are you, what are you good with? What do you eat? So then you know for sure, because you don't want to have stuff that they can't eat, or maybe, it makes them a little sickish. They have an intolerance to it, not a full-on reaction, but it still makes you not feel great. Trust me. Just ask, 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 and read the labels. Let's see here. Soylent Green. Distribution robot near you. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So that is our shellfish and crustacean, and the crustacean and mollusk thing all in there. You're going to find, usually I have noticed usually a lot of shellfish and crustacean and mollusks, primarily in a lot of Asian dishes, and there's not a whole lot of prepackaged Asian foods that I've seen. It's going to depend on where you shop. There are large markets that you can go to that are predominantly carry Asian foods, and a lot of fresh foods and vegetables, but a lot of packaged things from outside the US. So if you shop in an Asian market, I would say be really careful of that, because chances are you are going to find that as an ingredient, something, any one or part of these as an ingredient in something in there, more than likely, unless it's just plain straight up noodles, or rice or something like that. As far as like a dish that's canned, maybe prepackaged something or another, I would say watch out for it. All right, now these next that I'm going to go over, these next four, so we're halfway through it. In my opinion, these next four, and this is just my opinion, these are the ones that are the hardest to get away from, and these may be really difficult. So this next one is going to be milk. And I'm going to throw a link down here. And like I said at the beginning, I learned how to put timestamps. So I'll go back and add timestamps in. They may not show up until tomorrow, but I'll go in and put timestamps as well in the description after everything is done with the stream, so that you can go back if you want to go back, or if anyone listening on replay wants to go in and just click to a section. So there's a little bit of info on milk. Okay, so milk is in a whole heck of a lot of stuff. If you read the back of any label, the ingredients on anything, you're going to see probably milk. And the next three we're going to talk about will be eggs, soy, and wheat. And these four, in my opinion, like I said, are the toughest to avoid. And it's going to depend, again, on how allergic the person is to this. Milk is a tough one to get away from, because it is included in a lot of things. If you are allergic to milk, you will probably also have a really hard time, or be equally allergic to, goat milk and sheep's milk. I cannot have cow's milk. And I've tried goat milk, and that was not successful, and neither was sheep's milk, which I don't like sheep milk anyway, and I don't like sheep's cheese. I think it's super gamey, but that's me. Some people like it, I don't. What you want to look out for was one of the things you can look out for in milk. Milk can be listed a lot of different ways on the ingredients list. It can be listed as, it may say lactose, it could say casein, I think I'm saying that right, C-A-S-E-I-N, you'll see that a lot. That is the milk protein. So there's two proteins in milk. Casein or casein, I've heard it pronounced both ways, is one, and that's the dominant one. I think it's like 80% casein. And then the other 20% is whey, W-H-E-Y. And you'll see whey a lot in supplements. If you're looking for like a protein, like a protein supplement, right? A lot of people have talked about getting a supplement with your preps to have on hand. Be aware that is a milk product, that is milk protein. Possible substitutes for milk, for cow milk, goat milk, sheep's milk. If you do not have a soy allergy, my personal preference is soy milk, and you can actually buy soy milk powder. I know a lot of people who are storing cow milk, dairy powder, right? Milk powder. You can get soy milk powder. You can also get almond milk powder. I've seen it. It's in little bitty packages, and it is pricey, but if it's for yourself or if it's for someone particular, if only one person's going to be using it, you won't have to have as much. Unless you've got somebody who's super, super allergic and nobody in the household or in the group could eat, could have it for fear of, cross-contamination to the person who's allergic. But soy milk, almond milk, rice milk. I drank rice milk for a long time. I've not seen it in a powdered form. You can make rice milk at home with rice, white rice. You can look online for recipes for that. It's pretty easy, I think. I've never actually done it, but I don't think it's very difficult. And nowadays, the latest, trendiest thing is oat milk, which I could have oat, but that just doesn't sound appealing to me in general. That's just me. But milk is in a whole lot of stuff. So if you're buying things, if you're buying freeze-dry foods, if you are buying, like the meals where it's like maybe a stroganoff or something like that, something where it's a packaged meal or like a soup, any kind of a dish that's already prepared, that you're not having to get your individual ingredients and make a dish, you need to make sure you're reading that label and make sure it's not in there if you're that allergic to it. A lot of times people who have a milk allergy, sometimes you can tolerate it if it's in something. I can. It just kind of depends on what it is. If it's something with a cream sauce, forget about it. If it's a little something like a little bit of milk in, a pan of cornbread, I can handle that. It doesn't even register as having an issue really, unless I'm having a lot of it, maybe several days in a row. And again, that's me. Someone else's reaction could be different. Hey, Ghost. Oh, someone say Ghost? Oh, there's Ghost. Sorry, I looked up, I saw Ghetto Prepper. I was like, that's not Ghost, that's Ghetto Prepper. Hey, Ghost, how are you? That's Ghetto Prepper. The sun looks extra fake today? Okay. I'll take your word for it. The sun's gone down here, so I can't look at it right now. But I'll check it tomorrow. Let's see here. Yeah, that is a good idea. Get FDA notification on recalls. Absolutely. Yeah, because occasionally there will be things that come up where they did not put an ingredient on the list. They sure didn't. That does happen. All right, let's see here. Woohoo, we're halfway there. Ready for it to be over with already. I'm trying to get through it pretty quick. All right. Okay, so that's milk. And obviously there's milk in all kinds of things like butter, margarine, yogurt, ghee, custard, all kinds of things, baked goods. Milk is in a lot of things. So that link that I dropped in there for milk, it's got a lot of information there on alternate names that you may see milk listed as. So even if you read a label and you see on there where it says, the allergy warning contains milk, and you may say, well, I don't see that listed on here. I don't think it does. No, it does. If it has the warning on there, it has milk. I have occasionally read labels where I recognize the alternate name of the product, like maybe the casein or something else, but they didn't have it on the label. And sometimes that happens. And what happens to that company? They just get smacked. They get a fine. That's all. They just get fined. So that's why I say read the labels, be aware of alternate names for different things, the casein, the wheat, the whey, know that it could show up as lactose, know what milk is used in all these different dishes and products. Okay, I'm going to move on here. Eggs. Mister's over here going, no way. Knock it off. Knock it off. I got my own peanut gallery over here. Peanut. Oh my gosh. Getting corny in here, folks. Okay, we're going to move along to eggs. Eggs are another one that are tough. The eggs are in everything. Let's see here. Hey, roaming prepper. And oh, thank you. I'm glad. I feel like it's super basic information. But maybe it's that it seems super basic to me because I've lived with all of this junk for 20 plus years. So for someone who's not as familiar with it, or if you are newly diagnosed with allergies, may not be aware of a lot of these things, how the cross reactivity, when I learned that, I was like, oh, I had no idea. Hell, here it is 20 something years later, and I just learned that, well, I'm allergic to all this shellfish stuff. Probably means frog legs, or fin fish, excuse me, probably means frog legs too. Not that I plan to eat them, but. Okay, here we go. There's a little linky for eggs. Your wife has milk and eggs. Yeah, milk's a bit powdery these days, though. Okay, let's see here. So I'm scrolling up super quick. Oh, you thought you were naming where there's milk. Okay. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not going to scroll too far up there. It looks like a conversation I may not want to get too far into. Hi, Laura. Welcome. Okay, now we are up to eggs. Again, like I said, these bottom four are in a lot of our foods. A lot. There's eggs in a whole lot of things, which if you're trying to avoid any of these, the milk, eggs, soy, or wheat, you know that. You know how difficult it's going to be. All right. So with eggs, sometimes people don't know this, that, or you may realize it, that eggs are used to, I almost said the word. Well, you know what? I'm going to say it. Eggs are used in vaccines. Ooh, I'm going to get shut down now. And if you didn't know that, they are. It's used I guess, to kind of grow. Is the best way to kind of describe it, the vaccine. And it's used for influenza is the most commonly known, right? But it's also used for the yellow fever vaccine. And I had read, I can't confirm this or not, I did see it on one site that I read. Supposedly, it's also used for the rabies vaccine. But it is definitely used for influenza and yellow fever. If you have an egg allergy, okay, and actually an allergy, not just the sensitivity. I have a sensitivity. I don't have the full-on allergy. It's not life-threatening to me, but it does make me very uncomfortable if I personally eat more than, I would not go above 3 eggs a week, and I probably would feel better at 2. So that shows you right there. But I'm not considered an allergy because it's not life-threatening. I just get super uncomfortable, and I get rashes and crabby and itchy, and you just don't feel good. And that's how I react to it. But if you do have a reaction to eggs, you can ask your doctor, and you want to get your influenza vaccine, you want to get your flu shot, they can order a special flu vaccine that does not use egg. So that is available. It costs a little bit more to the insurance company. They don't generally keep them on hand at doctor's offices or wherever, hospitals or wherever you go and get your flu shot. They do have to usually order it for you. And it takes anywhere, even last year, it was taking anywhere from, no, excuse me, a couple of years ago, it was taking anywhere from a couple of days to roughly about a week or so to get it in our area at most doctor's offices. And I know that because of where I was working at the time. I was working with healthcare students and helping them in their programs, and we knew all that information. So anyway, but if you do need your influenza shot and you have trouble with eggs, then ask your doctor to order that one for you. Or if you have someone who wants to get it, or you want your kids to get it or whatever, then there you go. You just ask them to order that one and they'll get it for you. Not a problem. Usually the white of the egg white, contains most of the allergen, but the yolk does as well. It's not, I guess, as bad, but it does still cause reaction. It's just not as concentrated as the egg white. And cooking it does not diminish any of the allergic effect at all. So cooking it isn't going to change anything. And again, read your labels, guys. Lots of, you'll find egg products in pasta, some pastas, breads, baked goods, all kinds of things you'll find egg in. Probably not as much as milk, soy, and wheat, but it's still out there. You'll be surprised. Obviously, mayonnaise. There's eggs in mayonnaise, all kinds of things. Things you just don't think about if you don't have allergies or if you're not looking for that kind of stuff, All right, let me hop back over here, doll. Dr. Herbalist says, doesn't do eggs at all. Yep. Thank you, Native. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, I popped over. I didn't get a chance to say hello. I just kind of popped in alert real quick over there on that on that stream that Papa Prepper did for, oh, yeah, for Jim. Sorry, I couldn't call his screen name for Jim. That was really nice. I have not tried, quail eggs, and actually oh, and you know what? That reminds me of something I wanted to bring up here. Um, let's see here, let me go back over because I didn't did I put it on here? I didn't. What happened to my notes? This is weird. Okay, so with eggs, you can actually, the information I read said that it specified hen's eggs, which, you know, I'm like, well, okay, chickens. You can also likely be allergic to other eggs of other birds as well, fowl. So I've never heard that quail eggs would be an alternative. It is still an egg. Um, I probably, you know, I've had them. So I had somebody else make them and bring them to like a potluck breakfast at work one time, and they were okay. But oh no, that was duck egg. Excuse me. She brought duck eggs, not quail. But supposedly, if you, what I read says that if you are allergic to chicken eggs, it's very likely that you will also have a reaction to other eggs as well, other fowl eggs, and not FOUL, FOWL. Birds, other bird eggs. How about that? But it's something to look into, and it's something to talk to your doctor about or do your research on so that you can ask your physician, you know, and get their opinion on that. Because as I will keep saying, I am not a doctor. Yeah, egg and marshmallows, exactly. There's egg and all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's no way to include absolutely everything on here, and even these websites, you know, for Mayo Clinic and the other places I'm sharing, even they aren't exhaustive. There's no way to be exhaustive and have absolutely everything in there. They will definitely have a lot more information and can answer more questions and point you in directions and give you more ideas of what kinds of foods will include these ingredients will be included in. But yeah, let's see here. Oh, hey, Jacob. Welcome. Let's see here. Scroll up and see if I've missed anyone. You don't do it? Yeah, I don't either. I actually, I actually saw someone many, many years ago. It was 20 plus years ago. I was working in healthcare when I first started working in healthcare in the capacity I was in at the time. I was working at a well, I don't even want to say where I was working. It was a very large facility, a very large, well-known facility on the East Coast. And there was a staff member who went along. It was when flu shots were kind of becoming a thing. You know, they were first kind of coming out, and people were getting them a little bit. You know, it was becoming more of the thing to get. And this lady who had worked in the office, one of the offices, had gotten a shot. I didn't know her. I came in. I just remember seeing this lady was being helped down the hallway. She had a walker and she was hunched over and she was just having a hard time. It looked like kind of moving along. And a lot of the secretaries were stopping and talking to her and, hey, how are you doing? Hello. I thought it was one of the patients. No, she had been a secretary there and they all knew her. And one of the administrative assistants for one of the cardiologists told me that explained to me that she had taken the flu shot and she had a reaction to it. And that was before people realized, oh, the egg. She had an allergic reaction to it and wound up hospitalized. And they said she had been a very vibrant, active woman before, and now there she was hunched over, and she was, I think, 50, early 50s, and could barely move and was on a walker. So allergies are serious. It's not something to play with. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody. I'm giving you as an example of, you know, if you have a severe allergy, you know, obviously she wasn't aware of it, you know, the reaction that she could possibly have. But let's see here. Exhaustive. It's right. It's not exhausted. Okay, let's see here. All right, let me hop back over. So that was our eggs. Next up, soy. Soy is even harder. I feel like it's like getting increasingly more difficult to avoid. Soy is in abso-freaking-lutely everything. And that's what I've got on my notes is it's in a lot of products and processed foods. It, let me drop the link in here so you guys can have it. The only thing I could say for soy is definitely read labels. Definitely read labels. Um, there will be soy in all of our foods. There will be soy. It's soy in hot dogs. There is soy in, I mean, just absolutely everything. And when I put a link there too, is the Johns Hopkins soy allergy diet, and it kind of gives general guidelines. It talks about, soy that you'll find in breads and starches. The vegetables, of course, are going to be soybeans. Don't eat soybeans. Be careful of sauces, anything, any kind of a soy product like that. Watch out for drink mixes, sauces, and toppings. It'll have soy in it. Some instant coffee, which I didn't realize. I personally have never seen soy listed in instant coffee. So, but maybe it depends on what kind. I don't know. Hot chocolate or hot cocoa mixes, yeah, you'll see it in that. Malt beverages, fruit drinks. It'll be in sausages that you get at the store, pork sausages, deli meat, a lot of commercially prepared stuff. It's going to have soy in there. And a lot of meat substitutes, of course, which is all a soy product. Tofu is soy. Texturized vegetable protein, sometimes listed, abbreviated as TVP. Texturized vegetable protein, that is soy. Let's see, of course, soy milk. Soups, hard candies, baked goods, fudge, caramels, may have like soy flour in it. Some margarines and butter substitutes, salad dressing, mayonnaise, gravy packets. Really, I mean, it's pretty crazy the amount of soy that's in our food, really. And I know a lot of people are very much against soy, try and keep it out of their diet. I drink soy milk. I had a soy intolerance for many years, and then suddenly I didn't have it anymore. I don't know why. I just don't. So I actually enjoy drinking soy milk. I like it. I choose to drink it. An alternative to soy, if you cannot do soy and you're not able to do or don't want to do cow milk, goat milk, or sheep milk, again, like I said, there's rice milk. If you don't have a nut allergy, there's almond milk. There's the choices there pretty much. Yeah, soy is in a lot of stuff, Moon Sprouts. Welcome. It is in a lot of stuff. It's astounding. I mean, when you start reading labels, when you start reading the ingredients, soy, milk, soy, and wheat, really those three you're going to see in a whole pile of stuff. That's what I'm saying. In freeze-dry foods, if you're buying the meals, the already put together meals like a soup or stroganoff or some kind of a chicken dish where it's several ingredients together and you just add the water, there's a much higher chance of having any one or all three of those in that dish. If you get your separate ingredients, like if and I'm using freeze-dry food as an example, this would be any food, whether it's a wet pack, meaning canned food, or if it's your long-term shelf-stable freeze-dry. If you're getting separate ingredients, like maybe you get your number 10 can of freeze-dry broccoli, you get a number 10 can of freeze-dry chicken, okay? Read the labels on stuff. I order a lot of things online. If I can't see a label even online and read the ingredients or they don't have it listed, I am definitely not inclined to order it because I need to know what's in it. So just, again, be aware. Read those labels, folks. Read those labels. Almond milk is good from what I hear. It's not good for me because I'm allergic. I've heard that it has like it does lend a slight nut or almond taste to things. Yeah, and that's exactly it. There is soy in some of the lesser expensive tuna even. Yeah, it's an additive in a lot of things. And I've seen it listed in a lot of canned soups, which are like, what? It's in everything. It's so prevalent. That's why I said it's so hard to get away from. If you have a soy allergy, sorry, I'm scrolling up here. If you have a soy allergy, I really feel for you. I never had a full allergy. I had an intolerance. I could still manage with most of it, but to just like sit and drink some soy milk, no, I couldn't do that. Same thing with cow's milk. No way. I can't drink cow milk, like a glass of milk. I can't have ice cream. which is so disappointing. I've often told my husband, I said, man, if I didn't have all these allergies, I'd probably be big as a house because I'd eat everything. But probably not, because then it would be normal to me. But I often think if I didn't have allergies, I would eat everything in the world, because I can't eat it now. But yeah, soy's in so much. I mean, there's soy's, yeah. Well, you think soy's in everything. Wheat. We're about to talk about wheat. Wheat's in every flippin' thing. Soy and wheat. It's crazy. Let's see here. Yes, if you have an allergic reaction during an area emergency, the hospitals will be full. Yeah, that would be a major issue for sure. Yeah. Um, and I'm at the end here. It's just popped in my head. I wasn't really going to talk meds a whole lot because I feel like I'm toeing the line there on medical stuff. I feel like I'm still holding my breath and see if I'm going to get spanked for last week's for last week's live, even though I was super sly and stealthy and nobody knew what I was talking about when I was talking about fish. Right? No one caught that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go listen to the last 30 minutes. Let's see here. Soy makes man boobs. That's what I hear. That's what I hear. The amount of soy that it takes, though, to have that kind of reaction or to have that sort of effect is pretty healthy amount. I mean, like a lot. So I wouldn't stress it. That's just my non-medical opinion. All right, let's see here. I'm going to come on down. Wheat. Yeah. Well, wheat's in everything. You do goat milk and rice milk. I did rice milk for a long time. Rice milk is very thin. A lot of people may know rice drinks or rice beverages as horchata. If you like Mexican food, Mexican cuisine, a lot of times at some places, or at least around here in our area anyway, you can get horchata. I never even heard of horchata. I lived in San Antonio for years. I didn't know what horchata was. I moved to Central Texas and learned about horchata. And I was like, what? Delicious. It's a sweet rice milk drink, cold drink. It's pretty tasty. Mister likes it a lot. But and they serve it. Well, the place we used to go to served it in a ginormous, huge styrofoam cup. I mean, good Lord, it was huge. It reminded me of like a big gulp. But yeah, horchata. It's what Mister says. I was able to do goat milk as a child, like as an infant, but then as an adult, nope, not for me. So, okay, let's move along. We're just over an hour, so I'm trying to truck along here pretty good. Wheat. Wheat and soy are in absolutely damn near everything that we have, guys, in all of our food. Which, if you don't have a problem with soy or wheat, fine. But again, and there we go. There's a link to Mayo Clinic for wheat allergy. And again, an allergy means that you are having a life-threatening reaction. A sensitivity or intolerance means that it's not life-threatening, but it's still not making you feel real good. I can tell you that. I have both to a lot of different things. I have some life-threatening allergies, and I have a lot of sensitivities or intolerances. The two terms can be used interchangeably from what I'm aware of. So wheat is in a whole hell of a lot of things that you don't even think it's in. There's wheat in soy sauce, you know. There's wheat in ice cream, wheat in hot dogs. And I also want to point out a wheat allergy or sensitivity, it's not the same thing as celiac disease. Celiac is a reaction to one specific protein in wheat, to the gluten, and it causes, my understanding, I don't have celiac, so if anyone wants to correct me, please feel free. My understanding is that it causes a different kind of reaction, but it's not a wheat allergy per se. It's that reaction to the gluten, just to the gluten itself. Let's see, wheat thins. Okay, yeah, wheat is a filler. Soy's a filler too. More nutrients than sawdust. I don't know. Horchata. Oh, sorry. I'm just looking. I'm like horchata. I'm so about talking about horchata. It's your hubby's favorite. Okay. All right, so let's see here. If you are allergic to wheat or you have a sensitivity to wheat, you may also have a sensitivity or an allergy to barley, oats, and rye. It's not an absolute, it's a you might. It's that cross-reactivity thing again. You might have a reaction to that as well. You just as easily may not, or it could be to one and not all. Um, I have I have no problem with oats. Rye I'm okay with. I'm fine with wheat. Barley is kind of, I can tolerate, me personally, a little bit of barley, but I have no trouble with wheat. So, in fact, I love wheat bread. So, sometimes allergies or intolerances, sensitivities don't make a whole lot of sense because we don't understand. I'm not an allergist, so I don't know. But sometimes it feels like they don't make sense anyway from where I'm sitting. Let's see here. An autoimmune disease. Thank you, Sister Marie. So celiac is an autoimmune disease. Thank you. All right, so that's kind of where I'm going to leave off. Soy and wheat, I mean, there's no way to give a list of everything. It's basically, if I told you, next time you go in the grocery store, you know what, this weekend is a pay weekend for a lot of people. The 1st and the 15th, if you've ever heard me say that before, 1st and the 15th are big paydays for a lot of people. Okay, so if you're going to the grocery store, just pick up any random thing and just look at it. Just look at the ingredients on it. Look at what the allergy, the warning label says on it. So the FDA for these 8, for wheat, soy, eggs, milk, shellfish, or crustacean, you can see it listed either way. Occasionally you may occasionally see, and I've only seen a couple of times, will be listed mollusk or specify mollusk. I usually will see shellfish or crustacean listed. Fish, tree nut, and peanut, those are called the big 8. Those are the top 8 allergens in the US. Doesn't mean they're the only allergens. It's just those are the ones that people have the most reactions to. Now, something that kind of tends to go a little hand in hand with nuts or seeds. I also have a seed allergy. Some of you may be wondering at this point, what the hell do I eat? Don't worry, I'm doing fine. A lot of times with seed allergies, it's kind of hard to tell if you're having a reaction actually to the seed, or nuts and seeds are a lot of times in the same facility, manufacturing facility. So there could be some cross-contamination there a lot of times. So it's hard to tell if you're having a reaction to the seed or maybe if there's cross-contamination with the nuts from the facility. But just be aware that people do have seed allergies. I'm one of them, or seed intolerances. There are things like sesame seed, coconut is considered a seed actually, sunflower seeds, and here's a big one, quinoa. Now you may not get the pronunciation on it. It's spelled Quinoa. Looks like quinoa, right? It's pronounced quinoa, and most people mistake it for a grain. It's not. It's a seed. I found that out the hard way when I had a reaction to that mess. It's in a lot of stuff and it's super healthy, and if you can eat it, that's awesome. That's great. But be aware it is a seed and people can have a reaction to it. A lot of folks think or ask about nutmeg. Nutmeg is not a nut. It is a seed. And mace, which is another seasoning or another spice, is made from the seed covering, the nutmeg seed covering. So it's part of that. It's also, I don't know if there's a reaction associated with mace, but nutmeg is a seed, so just be aware. From what I've read and what I understand, very few cases of allergy to nutmeg, but doesn't mean there aren't any, doesn't mean you can't be allergic. Be aware, just saying. Okay, so that's seeds. Let me check back in the chat real quick. Let's see. Celiac is a reaction to gluten. Yes. Damages the intestines. It makes nutrient absorption very difficult. Yes. Until you get under control. Autoimmune disease. Excellent. Let's see here. As a person living a preparedness lifestyle and buckets full of wheat and now 2 kids with celiac has made me change my... Yeah. Oh, I bet it has. I bet it has. So I'm just curious, just a curiosity question. If you've got wheat in the house, the 2 kids can't have it, can't have the gluten. Are they okay with everyone else in the household having it? Is it only affect you? Because I'm completely ignorant of celiac disease. is it like allergies where, you know, exposure can affect you, or do you actually have to ingest it? You actually have to eat it in order to have an adverse reaction to it. I'm just curious. Read label, exactly. Read those labels, guys. I stress it throughout. I'm going to keep saying it until we get done and sign off here. Read the labels. Read the ingredients. But you know, and I told Mister, I said, I feel like that's my best advice is if you're prepping for someone else, talk to them and ask them what they can have, and read labels. I mean, that's the two big things right there. That will solve a whole heck of a lot of problems right there. And do it ahead of time. Do it now. Don't wait. Don't wait. Because things, as we know, are getting harder and harder and harder to find. They're getting scarcer. It's taking longer and longer for things to get to the shelf. You know, don't delay. And last time I was at Walmart, Walmart even has, at least our Walmart does, and probably all of them I would assume, because they're all pretty standard, has a small little section where they have, you know, some little gluten-free things, you know, little bags of gluten-free this and that, and cookies and snacks and different things. And not just gluten-free, but, you know, some things are made in what's called a dedicated facility, which is important if you have a nut allergy. It'll say made in a dedicated facility, and the price tag on the item will reflect that because it will be more expensive. Dedicated facility means that there are no, usually what I look at is it means there's no nuts. They don't have any kind of peanut, tree nut allergens there in the facility. It's dedicated only to making that one product. They don't share equipment with anyone else. They don't share lines with any other product, which if you see warning labels also, you'll often see, you've probably noticed, it'll say made in the same facility as products containing peanut, tree nut, shellfish. Made on the same lines as products containing milk. So, and that's just what it says. That's just what it means. Now, it doesn't mean that they don't clean the lines in between making products, but they have to put that on there because there's always a chance there can be residue or more than residue of whatever was run on the lines beforehand. If it says in the same facility, it could be just that. It could be on the other end of the facility on a totally separate line, but it's just, you know, possible airborne cross-contamination, or it could be on a line right next to it, you know. It's, and how people feel about that, you know, and what kind of reaction they have to stuff like that, you have to ask the person, you have to ask the individual. There are some things I'm okay with. There are other ones I won't touch it. If it's on the same line, I won't eat it. If it's in the same facility, it kind of depends on what the item is, you know. So you just have to be, exactly, Bug Dude, you have to be mindful of cross-contamination. And I know you're talking about in regards to the wheat, but as far as allergies as well. Mindful of cross-contamination, the rest of us eat gluten-free more or less, except bread. But we can't contaminate peanut butter jelly. Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Using I'm thinking the knife in the jar or the spoon in the jar. Yeah. I see. I wouldn't have thought of that, but yeah, exactly. And see, that's a great point right there. I totally would not have thought of that. If you're somebody who has trouble with, or if you're in the same household, I guess, with someone who has trouble with wheat or they're celiac, yeah, cross-contamination. See, this is why we have to talk. I never would have thought of that, but that's not something that we live with here in our household. That's awesome. Bye, Stuart. Good night. Thanks for coming in. You be good too. Let's see here. Hey, Bob Mills, how are you? You're only allergic to pain and nothing else. The pain, bullshit, and stupidity. Yeah, I'm allergic to that too. I think most of us are. Okay, let's see here. All right, let me scroll down real quick. Okay, so we talked about seeds real quick. All the different kinds of seeds that just be aware of, and that nutmeg is a seed as well. Nutmeg is used in a lot of different, we usually think of nutmeg probably at the holidays, you know, with like baked goods and things like that. It can be used in some other dishes, but just be aware of it. Okay, nightshade. This one is actually pretty common. It's not in the top 8 or in the big 8, but nightshade sensitivity. And sensitivity can be bloating, gas, nausea, fatigue, joint pain or swelling. It may give you that. I actually get that from some things, and it's no fun at all. In fact, I've had all of those reactions as a sensitivity. And let's see, I'm actually going to throw this link up here for the nightshade sensitivity. And what is nightshade? What falls into the nightshade category are white potatoes, tomatoes, tomatillos, I think I said that right, chili peppers, banana peppers, eggplant, paprika, pimentos, cayenne pepper, goji berries, red pepper flakes, curry powder. There's just, yeah, it's all considered to be part of the nightshade family. Let's see me throw the link down here. There we are for that. All right, so there we go. And that's actually, that link is going to have, that's to Dr. Amy Meyer's site. And I thought she had pretty good information on there. She's also got some suggestions for, I think she's got it. I got some information from a couple of different sites and kind of condensed it down here. Let me pull it up real quick. I think she's the one that had suggestions for substitutions for those items. Let me scroll down. Yes, she does. So if you scroll all the way down, she's got some cooking substitutions for nightshade. So if you've got someone who has a sensitivity, or if you have a sensitivity, sometimes with these, we don't realize it. I'm okay with white potato. Tomatoes I can't do. I have trouble with peppers. Eggplant is, I'd rather not. But she's got some suggestions in cooking for substitutions. Like, so for white potato, she suggests use sweet potato because a sweet potato is not in the nightshade family. You can use cauliflower, parsnip, carrot. If you substitute, a substitution for tomatoes could be apples, beets, grapefruit, as long as your grapefruit doesn't, you're not taking any medication that contraindicates with grapefruit. Watch out for that. And jicama, that's what that Jicama, jicama. Jicama is really good. You can get that at the store. And then she's got portobello and shiitake mushrooms, suggested substitute for eggplant. And then she's got different suggestions for seasonings, substitutions for those seasonings, and just some pretty good information on here, I think. Now, she does have stuff where she's like trying to sell her little cookbook and different stuff that she's written, of course, because it's her website, but she's got good information on there, I thought. And, but yeah, it's nightshade is a thing. There's also, oh, sorry, I just saw Carolina Reaper on here. Flip back over. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just saw you say that about cross-contamination. Yeah, and see, that's the thing with cross-contamination. Some people are very sensitive to it and others are not. For me, it depends what it is. And, you know, it's, I feel like I'm a constant, like I'm a walking science project all the time trying to remember. I know in my head, you know, I had 2 eggs this week, you know, so I can't, or I probably should not eat, you know, something, this other item over here, because I don't want to throw myself into a state of being sick or having a reaction, trigger a reaction. And by reaction, I'm meaning like a sensitivity, that kind of a reaction, not a life-threatening reaction. But yeah, I feel like a walking walking science experiment all the time. Oh, something I'm going to throw out real quick. I almost forgot about this. I'm sorry. I'm going to go back up to, we talked about nuts earlier. We talked about chestnut. Water chestnuts are not nuts. So just so you know, water chestnuts are not nuts. They're actually an underwater growing. They're in the tuber family, like potatoes are a tuber. They're considered a tuber, so they are not nuts. So they are not included with nuts if you have a nut allergy. Just letting you know, just throwing that out there. Okay, so we got our nightshade. Onions. So you can be allergic to or have a sensitivity to onion. I do. If you have a sensitivity to onion, you may also likely have a sensitivity or intolerance to garlic, chives, scallions, and shallots. And it may also include mugwort, which I have heard of, but I've never seen. So sometimes that's used in tea in Asian cuisine. So, you know, for onion, garlic, chives, scallions, shallots, look out for things like egg salad, tuna salads, prepared, already prepared things like that. Some deli meats, salsa, of course, pico de gallo, some prepared foods, frozen entrees, some frozen pizzas, seasoned crackers, soups, basically anything that's already prepared for you. Vegetable broth, watch out for that. Vegetable broth, also watch out for that if you've got anything in the nightshade. If you have trouble with tomatoes, you may find tomato in there. I've got just a couple of little things here left. That's definitely not all the allergies out there. There's all kinds of things. There's also oral allergies, which are more common in the UK, but a lot of people here have them. I do. They're more commonly seen in the UK for some reason, but we do have them here in the States as well. It's not unheard of or wildly uncommon, but things like citrus, celery, just things like that, melons. Some people are allergic to strawberries and avocado. Now, avocado can be a life-threatening, be aware of that. Strawberries can be life-threatening, be aware of that. Melons, I have not heard of being life-threatening, but it doesn't mean that they can't be. There are definitely a lot of people with sensitivity or intolerance to melons, all kinds of melon. I am. Let's see here. Oh, I talked about water chestnut a second ago, that it's not a nut, it's an underwater tuber. And we talk about cross-reactivity. So here's an unusual one, and I had an allergist tell me about this. So I have a latex allergy. The allergist asked me and said, "Well, do you eat water chestnut?" And I said, "No, I can't handle it. I can't handle the water chestnut." And he says, "Yeah, because they're related." I said, "Really?" He says, "Yeah." There's that there you go. There's that cross reactivity thing. I don't know how latex is related to water chestnut, but it is per a doctor. And then, in addition to all that, there's things with people who have sensitivities to sulfites, nitrites, nitrates. Oh gosh, what's the one? Smoke flavoring is erythrobates. Erythrobates. Is smoke flavoring, the fake smoke flavoring that can be in stuff, can cause allergic sensitivity or an intolerance. So there's just all kinds of things. No, I did not mention turnips because, technically it's possible to be sensitive, intolerant, or allergic to pretty much anything. So if someone said they had a sensitivity to or an allergy to turnips, sure, yeah, it's possible. Just because I don't have it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And like I said at the beginning, this is definitely not an exhaustive listing of absolutely everything out there. These are the big 8, the top 8 to watch out for yourself, for loved ones, if you're prepping. Again, like I said, I'm going to keep saying throughout, read on the labels. Some people are okay with I've met so many people with so many different varying degrees of of intolerance. They are super sensitive and you can't cook food together, different ingredients. And like say maybe you've got some pimentos or peppers in a pasta salad, for example. Okay. And they can't have it because it's been cooked together, and it's pretty much tainted the whole dish. They can't risk it. I've seen other people where you can make that same dish and they're like, "Oh no, I'm fine. I'll just pick it out and not eat it. It's fine." Everyone is so very different. We are all so very unique in everything. Let's see here. Notice a lot of the big 8 is in so much prepackaged food. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's really common. Yeah. And it used to not be the big 8. It was, oh gosh, I can't remember where it started out. It was less than 8 and then they upped it to 8. I can't remember how long ago that was. It's been a while. I never really kept up with it because I've got my own allergies, my own sensitivities, and was always trying to kind of navigate that I just never really, I guess, kept up with what the official big 8 were. Like I said, I don't have a problem with wheat, but I kind of get a little funny with rye and barley, which are kind of sort of related. So cross-reactivity thing. Strawberries and bananas, yeah. And see, and bananas have a cross-reactivity with some other stuff. You can very much go down the rabbit hole in that. It's actually really easy to find a lot of this stuff. There's loads of information, and there are loads of bulletin boards and support groups, especially if you have kids with allergies. If you're an adult with allergies, look up the kids' information too. You can find a lot of information that way. I find more information, for, oh, does your child have this or that allergy? Because a lot of people assume that children will grow out of it. And sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. And a lot of times as an adult, you grow, like I did, you grow into an allergy, is how it was put to me. You develop this allergy later in life. Yeah, strawberries is one that I grew into. My grandmother used to grow strawberries for me, um, because I was her favorite grandchild. She would grow them for me, and then there came a point where I couldn't have them anymore, and I really hated that because she was growing them for me. Let's see here. Da, 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 da. Canna lily tubers are supposed to be potato-like. I haven't tried them. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I highly suggest, I mean, going on and looking up alternatives. And, if it's something that you need an alternative for yourself or for someone in your group or in the household, definitely look it up for sure. Okay, so I'm going to wind it down a little bit here because we're at an hour and a half, and I'm trying to cut down on these 2-hour streams. So the last thing I'm going to say is if you do have a reaction or sensitivity, talk with your doctor because, again, like I've said throughout, I'm not a doctor, and nothing I say should be construed as medical advice. If you have an allergy or sensitivity to anything, talk to your doctor and decide what is the best course of action medication-wise for you. If you need EpiPens or auto-injectors with epinephrine, get them, have them on hand. If you have those, then you have an allergy, meaning you have a potentially life-threatening allergy, and it's serious. You need to keep them with you and let people that you know, like your loved ones, know, hey, I have this. It's always in my go bag right here, or it's in my purse in this pocket inside my purse, or it's in the nightstand, or wherever you keep it. I don't recommend keeping it in your vehicle because temperature change, you don't want to get too hot, right, or too cold. You need to keep it with you usually. You more than likely, if you have an EpiPen or an epinephrine injector, then you likely are also aware that you probably want to keep Benadryl on hand. If you keep Benadryl on hand, I know when I've landed in the ER, I have been given Benadryl and Zantac, which seemed really strange. And now, I mean, I'm not giving medical advice. I'm just letting you know what I was given at the ER. And what the nurse in the ER has told me a few times when I've landed there, uh, I think it was Zantac 150. They gave me Benadryl and Zantac 150, and the nurse said that the Zantac actually helps the Benadryl to be absorbed quicker, faster into the body. Now, I was able to take the pills because my throat had not swelled at that point. It was a situation where I ate something and then immediately realized, oh my God, I just ate that, and ran to the emergency room, which happened to be like right nearby. So I got there before anything really started happening badly, and they were able to get on top of it. So just something to keep in mind. If you are having an allergic reaction, your throat is swelling, don't try, I've been told, don't try to swallow pills because you're probably not going to be successful. So just keep that in mind. But if it's a situation where your throat's swelling, you got auto injectors, use them, have somebody call 911 and use them for sure. Okay, but I just wanted to let y'all know about, my experience with the Benadryl and that Zantac, that was kind of neat, That was pretty cool that she gave me that information. Like I said, I think it was Zantac 150. But yeah, so there you go. That's all I got, guys. I feel like I should do a curtsy. Part of me feels like I haven't really given a whole lot of information, but maybe it's been a whole lot to kind of something to think about while you're looking at packaged foods. In particular, a lot of these freeze-dry foods or a lot of soups and stews and things like that you're buying at the store. Look on the back of the cans, look at the packaging, read the ingredients, and see what's in there. Sometimes there'll be something sneaky in there that you'll think, oh no, this is fine. I eat this all the time. Cousin Sally, who's probably going to come and be with us, will be just fine. But you turn over and look, and you will be surprised sometimes by what you see. And I mean, like, actually read it. Read each ingredient. Don't just kind of skim it, because I can almost guarantee you'll probably miss something if you skim it. To actually read each ingredient. And the only other thing I can think of as far as allergies, some people have a reaction to the color, the dyes in some things. That's not I don't think it's an uncommon, but it's not a super duper common thing. But there are some people that have reactions to or a sensitivity to dyes, like number 40 red, and whatever blue lake something or another. There's like different numbers, or a yellow dye number 5 or something like that. So, all right, great. Well, I'm glad. I feel like it wasn't much of a conversation. I felt like it was pretty one-sided on my end, but I'm glad you appreciated it. I hope everyone got something out of it. If you did, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up. If you got something out of this, some kind of takeaway from it, I don't want to say food for thought, but bumps. I'm full of corny jokes tonight, folks. It's been a super long day. All right, I'm going to wrap it up here. We're heading at an hour. I was about to say $1.40. Hello, an hour 40. I need to go to bed. Woo! We're heading at an hour 40. Thanks everyone for coming in. If you're listening replay, thanks for sticking with it. If you have any questions or you think of anything later, drop it in the comment section below. I'm all about, if you want to put anything in the comments, if you've ever seen, I will reply, and we can talk about more stuff. A lot of what I've talked about, I feel like it's a lot, from my perspective of what I've experienced, and I feel like that's the only thing I can kind of throw out there is just basic info on these big 8 and, a few of these other things that I know of that I have personal experience with. Definitely not all inclusive. Everyone definitely has different types of reactions, different types of sensitivities, varying degrees of sensitivity, I should say. So, just like I said in the beginning, and I've said throughout, read the labels. If you're prepping for someone else, ask them what they can have. They'll tell you, they'll know. They ought to know if they have an allergy or sensitivity or trouble eating certain things, or even celiac disease or some kind of autoimmune or something that, a special diet, even if it's just special dietary needs, like for religious reasons, or religious, dietary needs, ask. People will tell you, because, even nowadays, I am so thankful when people actually take the time to, take me into consideration in my eating habits. I don't expect anyone to accommodate me, because I'm usually in the minority, when it comes to things like potlucks or, going out to eat and things like that. As long as I know what kind of dishes a restaurant or whatever may serve, I can figure out something where I'll be safe, where I'll be okay. Unless it's a seafood restaurant, then I'm not going. um, but it's always really nice when someone asks, "Hey, what can you have?" And it's like, "Thank you. Thanks for asking. I appreciate that." I still don't want people to accommodate me because I'm the minority, but it's still really nice to ask someone. So I could probably pretty much guarantee if you ask someone, I think I would like to think they'll be touched a bit and feel kind of nice that somebody actually is concerned and wants to know what to do and what you can have, and, make accommodations for that. All right, guys. Hey, Silver Prep and Grandma, I'm actually signing off right about now. But we've gone on and on about all kinds of the big 8 here, allergies, and a few other things. All right, guys, I hope you have a great week and a great weekend. Hang in there, and I will see you on Sunday for our Sunday social hour. It's just a hangout, and I hope you have a great weekend. Stay safe out there, guys. Stay sweet.